What's up guys, it's Lord Both here for another video, and Snoop Dogg is in the news. Now, I know there was a time when you'd hear Snoop Dogg is in the news, and you think it had something to do with rap music, or drugs, or unaliving people. Y'all remember that? You remember when Snoop Dogg was an actual, gangbanger? But now in the post-Martha Stewart friendship version of Snoop Dogg, the most controversial things coming out of this man seem to be social, cultural, political takes. Because Snoop Dogg, a pretty well-known liberal and lifelong Democrat, recently on a podcast had a pretty based point of view. Because this comes to us from the New York Post, and it is entitled Snoop Dogg Slams LGBTQ+ Representation in Kids Films. Quote, they're putting it everywhere. The article states that Snoop Dogg made controversial comments about LGBTQ+ representation in film during a recent podcast interview. Quote, what you see is what you see, and they're putting it everywhere, the rapper 53 said on the August 20 episode of Dr. Sarah Fontenot's. I have no idea who this person is, but it's their It's Giving podcast. But the story goes that he was taking his grandson to see the Disney Pixar film Lightyear, and when they showed the lesbian couple and their child in the movie, well, apparently Snoop's grandson had questions. Quote, they're like, she had a baby with another woman, while my grandson in the middle of the movie is like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She's a woman. Snoop went on to say, oh, I didn't come in for this shit. Snoop, born Calvin Cortazar Brodus Jr. I don't know why they clarify his God-given name in the middle of the article right here. But he continues, I just came in to watch the god movie. Snoop said his grandson, who was confused by the same-sex couple, asked him, they just said she had a baby. They're both women. How does she have a baby? So it's like, me, I'm scared to go to the movies. Y'all throwing me in the middle of that I don't have an answer for. There's gonna be a lot of bleeps in today's video, by the way. Now that was the soundbite that a lot of people have been running with, but here I think is the more important quote from Snoop that adds a lot more poignant context. It threw me for a loop, Snoop added. I'm like, what part of the movie was this? These are kids. We have to show that at this age, they're going to ask questions I don't have the answer for. Even more poignant is that elsewhere in the interview, Snoop explained that masculinity is being taken out of men. Quote, I look at commercials, I look at everything that comes on TV, movies, TV shows, and it's always including some form of having a black man not as strong as he could be. To which I'd say, welcome to being a white man for the past 10, 15 years. When's the last time you saw a white father on television who is portrayed as not an idiot, had his house in order, was the breadwinner of the family, and was taken seriously and respected? By the way, apparently Snoop Dogg is a dinosaur now because according to Chris Evans, who once stated, Lightyear critics were idiots who will die off like dinosaurs because they were homophobic, and that's why they didn't go see the movie. Yeah, I guess Snoop Dogg is now in that context of people who didn't like this being included in the movie, also known as the majority of people. Of course, I would argue that it's not the main reason why Lightyear flopped. Lightyear flopped because it was a movie that nobody asked for a character that kind of had already a backstory through either exposition or animated TV, movies, and shows, which were really good, by the way, when I was a kid. I recommend if you do have kids around the Lightyear age that you go out and you watch Buzz Lightyear of Star Command because it's a lot of fun. Way more fun than Lightyear. And I think people were really, really burned by the fact that Tim Allen wasn't the voice of Buzz Lightyear, because that's the iconic voice of Buzz Lightyear. And the general problems with any Disney project. It was poorly produced, it was absolute chaos, and it was probably wildly over budget. The interesting part here though is that you just know that Snoop Dogg, despite having these feelings, whether it's about masculinity and specifically masculinity being portrayed in black men in television or any other media, or depicting gay couples with children in kids movies, that Snoop Dogg is still going to vote Democrat and still be a extremely strong liberal. Essentially, part of the problem. Because there is one side of the political aisle that is pushing these kinds of agendas and has these kinds of beliefs, and that is the political left. So if he thinks these things are a problem, he should maybe consider supporting somebody else. But you know he won't, because this is what he and other people that are ingrained in Hollywood culture have been taught and indoctrinated into just accepting, which is that you vote D all the time. You ride or die with your gang. And voting blue, voting with the big D, yes, I said big D there, is the gang that he seems to want to ride with. And something tells me he's not about to betray the homies, even though they're putting a bunch of gay stuff into his grandkids' movies that he doesn't like seeing. So he's just gonna continue complaining about stuff he doesn't like, while also voting for the people that pushes the stuff he doesn't like. Hollywood logic, everyone. But hey, those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go and leave them in the comments. If you liked this video, go and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I appreciate you watching all of it, and we'll talk to you again later.